Yeah. So, Ryan, do you think you've always been a naturally curious person, or do you think that curiosity was kind of peaked, dealing with the issues that you had as a kid, or where does it? Yeah, where does it come from?
I don't know. I think we're all shaped by our experiences and all those things. I don't really remember much about my personality and all that stuff before I lost my sight. But I was
Right.
told that I don't know if I'd call it curious, but I was always a bit adventurous, and that motto has held true. I mean, between riding the bull and then I'll be happy to tell my little fight with a howler monkey in Costa Rica story too. But I've always been a little bit adventurous, and I think some of it comes from two places, if I'm being very honest.
Right.
One is because I lost my sight, and I've always had ambition. And so having that ambition has led me to be curious. How can I do the same things that others do, but differently? Or how can I achieve the same results? Or in some cases, maybe even better results, but doing them differently, right? And I do think there was a period of time that adventurous nature was led by a little bit of a chip on my shoulder
Right.
because when I got out of high school and was in college and looking at the job market, there was there was a time where I worried about how people viewed me, how people, without knowing me, were assessing my capability just because I carried a white cane or just because they knew I was blind. So there was a so you mix ambition with curiosity and a chip on your shoulder, your stamina goes through the roof, dude.
Yeah.
You can
Right.
accomplish a lot of stuff. Um, but it wasn't until kind of later in life that I realized it really wasn't about me. It was about the teams I lead, the people I work with, and being able to inspire that natural curiosity in them. Because no matter where you work, we all have bad days. We all have projects eventually that we say, "Man, this is going to be too hard to do. How do we do it?" And how do you inspire that curiosity in others?
So you've inspired a bit of curiosity then in me, Ryan. Howler monkeys in Costa Rica. What?
Okay,
How- I'm
okay.
sorry, man. I just got to ask how did this come about?
So so um, like I said, I'm pretty adventurous, and so is my wife. Um, I was a cyclist. She got into running and triathlons and all these things. So we had some time coming up. We were planning a vacation. I wanted a beach vacation. She wanted to go somewhere where she could run. So she came across this company that offered, we'll call it the best of both worlds. You get the privilege of running between 6 and 8 miles every single day,
Right.
but you got to see a different section of Costa Rica, and it was wicked awesome. So we go, and I need to be quite candid in that I'm a smoker. I try to be a bit of a hidden smoker, if you will, but I am a smoker. And so we get there, and it's all these people, right? And everybody's talking about their fitness level, the runs that we're going to do, and other competitions that they've been in. And I'm thinking, one, I'm out of my league here. I'm not the best runner, let alone running up and down mountains and trails and all these things. Um, and two, I'm like, ah, they're going to yell at me if I smoke. But so one of the nights I would sneak out kind of after kind of like high school. I'd sneak out after everybody went to bed, and I would go smoke a cigarette, and I'd be fine, go to bed. Well, one night we were staying in these really kind of nifty tents in the jungle in the rainforest, and I went out. It's pitch black outside. It's super quiet. I go out and I light a cigarette, and all of a sudden I hear, I'm like, whoa, what is that? And I had this little howler monkey that was at my feet. So I'm kind of trying to push him away and trying to, then I started moving back, and I was like, okay, this isn't going to be good. But what I realized is he was attracted to the cigarette. And I don't know if it was the light or what, because it was dark. And he's throwing a fit. All of a sudden, all these people are like, is somebody out there? What's going on? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, one, I'm going to get busted for smoking. Two, I'm going to end up lighting I can't let this howler monkey have the cigarette because
Ah,
he's going to light the rainforest on fire. I'm like, I don't want this to be an international incident. So eventually, like, so so I eventually he doesn't really back off. But I reach down and I stomp the cigarette out, and light goes away. He goes away. Fine, great. So I'm like, perfect. I'm gonna sneak back to my tent, and all's gonna be well. Well, I didn't bring my cane with me because I only stepped at the time 3 feet out of my tent. But by the time I was done with the howler monkey incident, I am off the trail. I
Oh
am
my
like
god.
in branches and all these things. So somebody's like, somebody out there. I'm like, yeah, I'm out here, and I started following their voice, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I was smoking." And now what the cool part was, they're like, oh, "Me too. I just didn't want to tell anybody." I'm like, "Rock on, come outside." And I was like, "Come outside for two reasons. One, you can smoke a cigarette, and two, you can help me figure out where the heck my tent is in this place." So it was one of those things. Like, I've never been inhibited by the blindness thing. I've never been, um, and so right, wrong, or indifferent, I try to find things to do what I want to do, and I have that curiosity piece, and sometimes it gets me in trouble, and sometimes it doesn't. but yeah, it's wild. I mean, the amount of trust that I have in my wife when we run together is incredible. Because sometimes we were on trails that were only a couple feet wide, and what we do is we have a little nylon strap, if you will. It's about 1.5 feet long. She grabs one end, I grab the other, and that's how I stay in position to run beside her, and we run that way. Now it's a little tricky because I have to um, be prepared, I guess, for a broken ankle at any given time on those
Yeah,
trails.
yeah,
but
yeah.
but but it worked. I mean, it worked really well. And what's also really incredible, it was the first time we had done it. I mean, we hadn't even run around the neighborhood testing this out. Like, we decided let's wait until an adventure trip to see if
Right.
we can do this.
So just like riding the bull, you know what I mean? You didn't start out by like riding a Shetland pony. You're like, well, if I'm going to learn to run with somebody, yeah, I'm not going to start around the neighborhood. Why not just go on trails in Costa Rica with crazy
Yeah,
monkeys?
we should have. But, well, tell you the truth, I tried to find a way out of it. So I thought, okay, we're going to go on this running adventure, but surely there's a plan for those who don't want to run.
Right.
There wasn't. There was not. So that's why. So that's why I didn't prepare as well as I should have, because I thought there was an out, but there was not, and it ended up being a blast. It brought my wife and I a lot closer, to be honest, and it was really great. But we had, I mean, the first day that we ran together, that first couple of feet was interesting because it was like either I was running too fast or she was
Ah,
running
okay.
too
Yeah.
fast. We'd have to stop and but we were trying it, and the more we tried it, the better we got at it.
Well, which is, I think, as we're sort of now moving towards, the close here, I think what I normally like to do at this point is, some practical takeaways, right, for our audience. And if we're talking about the power of try, uh, for those out there listening, watching, what advice would you have, just to get them going? Is it literally just do something, do anything? Like, what advice do you have? Right, other than get on a bull
Sometimes,
and try and
yeah,
ride a
yeah.
rodeo,
I don't think I would recommend that for
might be a step
for
too far,
everybody.
I think, for
Yeah, it
for
might be
most
that
people.
might. Yeah, your speed to market here is jumping the gun, my friend.
Yeah.
So, 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 yeah, I would say two things. I would say one, uh, first, assess the task that you're putting off or that you find is insurmountable. Assess what step can you take first. I mean, it's kind of cliche, but the first step is always the hardest, right?
Mhm.
But that's why I say try something, do anything, and then evaluate that step. Whether it's a person who's looking for a job, you have to apply to something. You have to search for something, and you can, or if it's a project that you're launching for your company, you have to start somewhere and do something. Whether that's stenciling out what the project could be, whether that is simply asking for advice on where I should get started. That action alone is doing something.
I think that's sage advice, Ryan. Um, so I think at that point, to me, I think that's kind of a good natural wrap point here, right? Because we've heard the story, some of the crazy stuff you've done, and it just gets down to that simple, you know, just try something, get started. But I also like the fact that we're saying, you don't have to do everything at once. You don't have to go crazy. Just little steps that move you closer towards your goal because you're getting feedback.
Yeah, I mean, if you build a culture around trying new things, that's when you start to drive innovation. That's when you start to see people actually have a little bit of fun because they're not concerned about the instant outcome because they're empowered to try something. They're empowered to have it not go right. They're empowered to learn from it. And that's how you start to build a culture that is based on fun. That's how you start to build a culture that is based on authenticity. That's how you build a culture that is based on inspiration. And it all starts with just the simple effort of trying.
I couldn't have said it better myself. All right, Ryan. Um, I think for me, you are quite inspirational, actually. I've gotten a lot out of this conversation. I've loved, meeting with you and the previous conversation we've had and just seeing such a unique perspective, right, on life. I think it's awesome. Everyone out there, that concludes this episode of Enterprise Alchemy. I'm Ant, as I said before. Today, I am without Doug on the couch. Mr. Ryan Loken, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story, your insights, and just some of the crazy stuff you've gotten up to.
It's been a blast. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on.
Cool. Thank you very much. All right, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode.